something's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
And welcome back to the SuperCaZt, everybody. I am your host, the man who put the super in SuperCaZt, the Super Foch. And as always, I'm joined by my good buddy and co-host,
Steve Z, the man who put the Z in SuperCaZt.
And we are back for another episode. Man, we've been seeing some good movies lately. Not that we haven't, seen a bad one, I don't think. But this one, boy, it was awesome, man. The movie in question is, of course, Drive. And I don't think I'd ever seen this film before the show, man. And I feel so bad about that. Like, I don't know how I missed this movie, because it pretty much ticked all my boxes of a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I had the exact same reaction, because my experience with this film was I had an opportunity to watch it with a couple of friends. A really good friend of mine had recommended, said it was awesome, let's watch it. And I just wasn't feeling it, and I regretted that. Because eventually I did watch the whole film, and it's one of those films I started late at night, but once I started I couldn't stop. And then after I finished it, I was like, man, that was profound, that was important. That was a great movie. And I was obsessed with the film after that, and I was just had the exact same reaction you had, of like, how did it take me this many years to watch this film? How did I miss out on this? But I don't know. Sometimes I do like to stick by the old truth that a movie finds you when it finds you. But still, there is that part of you that's like, man, if I just would have saw this years ago, I feel like I missed out.
Yeah. But we have both right that wrong, and are here to talk about it and sing its praises. And yeah, man, there's not much negative in this film. We'll probably get to some critiques later on, but we want to keep it mostly positive in this review, so that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'd like to keep it spoiler light lately. This one, we will try our best, but at the same time, if you've seen the film, and we highly recommend you do, that really helps.
Definitely.
And it's pretty available. I mean, it's one of those you can pick up streaming somewhere. If you really want to skip for it, you got to get the 4K. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get into the actual thing. But before we do, just want to throw that out there that if you want to just keep listening to us, you like what we sound like, please subscribe and continue to check them for us. That helps if you subscribe to our social media as well. And just, we really like it if you join the conversation. We spend a lot of time into this. We love this show, and we love talking about these films. But that's the thing. We know that film is very complicated. And just two people is just two perspectives. So we want your perspective. We want those that do comment, we love you, as we always say.
Yes.
So thanks for sharing the show. Please, watching, listening, whatever you do with it. That's all I can say about that. Let's get into the Drive.
You give me a time and a place. I give you a 5-minute window. Anything happens in that 5 minutes and I'm yours. No matter what. Anything happens a minute either side of that, and you're on your own. Do you understand? Good. And you won't be able to reach me on this phone again.
This movie was directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. Are you familiar with any of his other work, Steve?
Yeah, I've seen this one, obviously, and there's the one that I really wanted to see. I kind of built it up in mind as being just as good as this one. It was called Only God Forgives. And I will go and say, that one, it's complicated. I'm going to have to watch that one again. I thought it would be a lot like this one because it's very visually appealing, like this one. It's amazing looking film. Ryan Gosling's really good in it, but it just made me feel bad after watching it, and I don't like that feeling too often when I watch a movie. So I think I need to watch it again because I think it's just like was too dark for me on that day. But this one, on the other hand, this one, yes, it's dark, and yes, it has its rough parts in it, very violent parts, very facing the dark side of your personality sort of aspects to it. But at the same time, I still feel uplifted when I watch it. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this movie is a interesting film on so many levels. And I actually watched a YouTube video the other day where they were talking about different actors playing villains and that normally don't play, villains. And of course, one of them was from this movie, of course, by the great Albert Brooks, who he's probably my favorite character in this film, to be honest with you.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
I was really into his performance this time watching as well. I mean, that's wanted to bring up the topic of him and Nino, just that dynamic of him and Ron Perlman together. It's just a very interesting aspect of the film that I'm with you. It really stands out.
Yeah, this film is definitely dark, as you pointed out, and of course we did a movie in our last episode, which of course is Chinatown, which hopefully is out by the time we are releasing this as well. But in that movie, obviously there are differences in these films, but I think they kind of have the same atmosphere, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they do. I would say they both. I mean, Chinatown is a noir, or at the time, I guess they would have called it like a neo-noire of sorts. This one,
Neo-noire, yeah.
I would call this one a neon noir because it has that 80s sort of feel to it, even though it's like in the 2000s. But it's still got the noir sort of darkness to it, and that sort of inevitability that bad things will happen, that it's just not going to be a sunny day. Even though I will make the defense that this film, the ending, is the closest you're going to get to a sunny day for this character. But that's just my take. I'll get into that more later.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree with you with that. Just a lot of good performances in this film. Of course, Bryan Cranston is in it, who I love. And Ryan Gosling, who I've never really been the biggest fan of.
Man.
I mean, but he blew me away in this film. Like, I was like, all right, this is a different Ryan Gosling than Remember the Titans or The Notebook or whatever. This guy, he brought it. Like, I was really pleasantly surprised of his performance, because I think that's the key for this film. Kind of reminded me of another film in a similar vein with Baby Driver a little bit. And but Ryan Gosling in this film, wow, I was really surprised how well he did in this film.
Yeah, I can't believe that you were not a fan of Ryan Gosling.
I know.
I mean, this man is a great actor, and I think this film is a great representation of it. He's actually the guy that got Nicholas Refn the job, which is amazing to me, because
nice.
It seems like just a hand-in-glove pairing here of this great actor with this very visually striking director. It's just a match made in heaven. And I think he's great in the film. He brings it with very little. And as another thing I thought was pretty neat when I read just recently, and this is probably one of the reasons I like this film so much, is as they were shooting it, the two of them would actually cut out dialogue. And very seldomly do you actually hear that happening, where usually like the script doesn't make sense, so they add dialogue in or something, or actors ad-lib. But in this case, Gosling, he just felt as the performer that, no, we don't need to say anything here. And Refn was just like, I totally agree. This character should not talk.
Right. And that's, I think, was one of the best parts about this film, is what choices were made to, from a visual standpoint, but also from an audio standpoint. And I want to get into that real quick before we get into anything else as far as the plot or any of the other performances, because I think the audio and visual aspects of this film is where it's at for me. Because, man, is this film look great, and boy, does it sound great, man. Wow.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's like probably one of the biggest selling points for me. And I mean, you always hear me say this. Even though it seems like I'm a style over substance guy, I still love substance. I mean, I still love a good story. I still love a good heart in a film. But man, I'm a sucker for a film that just looks amazing. And this movie just looks beyond amazing. I mean, just from the get-go, just that introduction of our title character of Driver, and just the LA skylight, the way everything's lit, the way everything's shot, the tightness of the shots, but at the same time we see like the emotion, we feel this place feels lived in, like the whole apartments do. It's just beautifully constructed in that way, just the look of it. And like you said, the music, the indie music, I think that's perfect. Every time I just hear those songs, it takes me back to this film, and it makes me want to watch it again. And I think that's the sign of a good soundtrack, if it sticks with you after you've seen the scene or you've experienced it. And that's what this movie's all about, is just that experience.
And I'm going to run something by you here, Steve. Nowadays, we have what we call, Bluetooth and stuff like that. And most of the time, if I watch something, especially like this, I pop on my headphones, and I'm just so immersed in the world because of the earphones like this. And I have this theory that if theaters gave you headphones, it would make movies that much better, because you're just so immersed. You don't hear any outside stuff, and you're just completely in this world. And with a movie like this, I think it really, you need to almost be that immersed just to get the full effect. Do you agree with my little thing there, that theaters should give, if you go see a film, you should have earphones on, because it just really sucks you into that world even more otherwise?
Yeah, I think so. That's actually an idea I've had myself a few times. I was thinking, man, this movie would sound really cool, especially very musical films, like sitting down to watch Almost Famous or something with your headphones on. It just seems like it should happen. But yeah, I'm with you, because the way I watch movies, I don't get too loud. I do wear headphones as well, and that enhances it. But I think as long as you got a good sound set up, I think that is what you need for a film like this. I think the way that they use the music, the way that they use even like the sound effects, the Dolby, like capturing things, because you always have to think about the sound when a car crashes, or when a gun shoots, or when there's some sort of impact that's visceral. You feel that. Scene I thought about is whenever he realizes, man, I got stuck with this $1 million or whatever. I got all this money, and he goes in after that character. I can't even remember his name. He's the most annoying character in the movie, though. The bald guy, you know what I'm saying? And he takes him with the hammer. That just the sound of him hitting him in the head and just smashing that hammer. I'm just like, dude, how did they record that sound? And
no kidding.
Totally with you that this movie is an experience, and
it is.
Another aspect of that is the pacing, is the way it's edited.
Oh yeah.
I think they made it really tight. Sometimes it feels like you're watching a music video, which I just love, and it's not like Top Gun. It's not cheesy. It's more like sort of engrossing and gets you into this character and into this life.
Yeah, and I think that's the point of this film is, yes, there's a fantastic story here, and I think it works. I think this movie works from a story standpoint, but if you can already tell, and you haven't seen this film, the visual and audio, as we've been talking about here, I think really elevate this film to, just almost masterpiece level. I don't know if we'll call this movie a quote unquote masterpiece. That movie, that trope does get thrown around quite a bit, but boy, is it a thrill ride from the word go. And yeah, let's kind of talk about it here. What is it about, and why does he drive, Steve?
Yeah, so I guess we should probably say a little bit about the plot, just in case you haven't seen this movie. And
just a little bit. We're going to be as vague as we can be, but minor spoilers here, so just giving you guys that quick warning before Steve continues.
Yeah, so Ryan Gosling plays an unnamed guy. He's a driver, and he drives. By night, he's a getaway driver. He is a man with very few words, very professional, but he's very, very good. I mean, we get this from the get-go. This opening scene of how he deals with these dudes, he tells them up front, he's like, guys, you have to do what you do in this 5-minute window. Anytime after that, I'm your guy. I will get you in and out of there safely. But if you're late, sorry, I'm leaving you. And that's kind of the way this guy is. He's got his code. He's got his rules, the way he operates. And if you mess with that, he's going to cut you off because he's dealing with his life. And that's the thing, is he's so cold early on. But later as the film goes on, we realize there is this warmth to him. There is this human aspect to him. Because he meets Irene, who's his neighbor. Yeah. And she's going through some stuff. Carey Mulligan plays her, and she got a little one with her, and her husband, standard Oscar Isaac. Yeah, he's a nice little role in here too. Just gotta throw him in there. But basically, she's got to take care of this guy because Standard's been in jail. But the problem is he comes back out, re-enters the equation, but he's got some guys that are after him. So driver's got to step up, help out Standard because he really cares about Irene and little Benicio. So it's from there. It just gets very complicated because they have to do a heist together. The heist goes bad. It involves gangsters. It involves some really ugly stuff happening, double crossing, and he's just got to stay alive and try to protect the people he cares about. So very cool story, very cool movie.
Very.
Check it out.
And that's the thing about this film is we brought up Chinatown earlier, or I did, anyway, and we called it kind of a neo-noire, and I could almost put this movie in that same bubble, I think, as a neo-noire because it's a very dark film through the entire film, really. Obviously deals with some dark subject matter. There's some violence there, and that sort of thing. So it definitely gives off this noirish feeling, which I didn't mind at all because, again, I love these types of films, and we'll get into why because I think we both kind of have that same feeling. And we'll kind of debate that here in a bit, but I think the overall just presentation of the film and the way it is written, and I didn't know this. It was actually a book before it was a film. Did you know that?
Yeah, I read that. It's. I don't know how this would work as a book. I guess you would know a lot more about the character, which
probably
I don't know. I don't know if I like that or not. I like kind of how he is sort of a blank slate, just sort of a guy we know very little about. But at the same time, we do understand him and what he wants, and that's I think the cool thing about this character. As we said, Ryan Gosling knocks it out of the park, but he's very complicated. So what sort of stood out to you about just this character?
Well, I think there's many sides to this character. I think, again, going back to Chinatown, kind of like Jake, there was many sides to him. But with this guy, you don't know his name. So he is just this guy that drives a car and does these things. And you don't really know a whole lot about his backstory. You don't know where he's come from. And so you kind of have to piece things together as the movie goes on. As you said, you start to see some heart there, and he obviously cares about the child and all of that, and that worked for me on so many levels. I really felt like even though we didn't know much about this guy, I felt a connection to him almost instantly. Like I felt like I could see myself a little bit in his character, And I think that's what kind of sold me on this film, is that even though this guy is kind of mysterious and kind of a, I don't know, like almost like Batman, Batman or something. He's kind of in the shadows kind of guy, which brings up another point that I'll bring up later. But yeah, I just think that this film does a good job of making a no-name character so really intriguing.
Yeah, he's like multiple dimensions to him. Like, you meet him at first, he's just a professional. He's a driver. He's good at what he does. And then, to me, the quote that kind of stands out to me that adds depth to his character is when he's going to shake Bernie's hand. He says, "My hands are dirty." He's just like implying, I've done some stuff.
Right.
And so he's done some pretty bad stuff, and I don't know if he feels great about it. And when he meets Irene, when he meets Benicio, when he has that drive with them, where they go out and they hang out that afternoon, and he experienced what it's like to be a stand-in dad, or just a real true person. I think it changes him a little bit, because I think at the beginning of the film he is a very depressed person. He's a very empty person, that he really has no direction. I mean, makes money, yeah. He's good at what he does, yeah, but what's the purpose? What's he doing it for? So I think that's why he can't sleep. I think that's when he gets into his car when he gets home every time, and is just like, I guess I'm just gonna drive around for a bit, you know? I mean that's a lot of the things. We don't know why he's getting in the car, why he's driving. What did you feel in those scenes as the movie went on?
Well, see, that's the thing. I think those are the scenes that I related to this character the most, because I think we've all went through those times in our lives where we're like, who am I? What is my motivation? What is my purpose? What is, why do I get up in the morning? And I think, especially when you're younger and you're in your 20s and teens and stuff, that's a really big thing. So I think this is what this guy's kind of going through, really, is just what is his true motivation in life? What is he here to do? And, he's not really tied to anybody. He's not really, doesn't really have a whole lot of responsibility other than, these jobs that he takes. But then he meets these characters that he truly, I think, loves for the first time, probably in his life, as far as we know, that he really does care about. And that kind of softens him up a little bit. Sort of like another character that we've talked about in John Wick a little. So I think there's some comparison with that character and this guy in Drive. But I think for my money, the thing that got to me is the fact that this guy is cold on the outside, but I think does have warmth on the inside. And it just takes interaction with these other people, with his neighbors and stuff, to kind of bring that out on him. And I really like that. I thought that was not forced. I thought that was very organic and very real for the most part. And I really dug that.
Yeah. I mean, we just see him start out. He's just helping them out because their car's done. He helps them with their groceries, helps them in. And then later he goes out on a limb. He's trying to help Standard get out of this bad deal. And he's going to actually commit crimes with this guy. And then even when that goes foul, he's willing to give away all that money. He doesn't care anymore. He wants to just keep Irene and Benicio safe. So, he at that point, I don't know. I think personally, and this is the interesting thing I've noticed about this film, is nearly every time I watch it, I kind of question the framing of it. Like, I don't know if it's from his point of view, and if so, are certain things exaggerated a little bit? Like sometimes the lighting does some interesting things. Maybe the music. Is he all he's cracked up to be? And part of me says yes. The part that wants to like this character and wants to know that there's this part of him that has redemption, that he's doing this for basically unselfish means at all. I mean, because he doesn't want the money. We know that. But the other part of me is like, maybe he's just doing this because he wants to feel like a hero. And that's just probably wrong if it's for the wrong reasons.
My theory on this is, I think it's kind of up in the air. I think it's for you to decide as a viewer, because it doesn't really ever give an answer. completely. I think it's one of those things where it's like, ever how you interpret this guy is how you interpret this guy. And again, for my money, I think there is a good person within this character. I think to just answer the first question, is there any good in him at all? Yes. I think there's definitely a good person within him. Is there a tragic person and a person that's really had to struggle for most of his life apparently? Yeah, I think there is that too. So it's kind of made him cold a little bit. It's kind of made him defensive and just, this tougher guy that he has to kind of show to keep from being considered vulnerable or whatever. So I think that's what makes this character A, so relatable, and B, so believable, is that there's many sides to him. And if you see him as a bad guy, quote unquote, I mean, I guess there is an argument to be made there, depending on your point of view. But I think for the most part, it's more like a anti-hero kind of guy.
Yeah, I think so. I do want to get into that a little bit more later, but for now, I kind of want to talk about how, this film, as it progresses, the conflict just kind of, it ramps up, and that's why I really like this film, is the pacing enhances it, but pretty much after they go and do that heist and it goes wrong, and they're having that car chase, it kind of just doesn't let up. It's just like, can you even go use the restroom at that point, or can you get up? Can you look away from the screen? It is very intense.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you think about just all the conflicts that was going on that last bit of the film?
You hit the nail on the head with how complicated this story gets, and but I didn't care. Like, it didn't bother me because of scenes like this where you have this awesome car chase. And I said it off the air. I'm not a car guy. I couldn't tell you much about a car, but I love a good car chase scene in film. And for me, this just, oh man, this was so exciting to watch. And I think it's really what sold me on the film right there. It was like, okay, yeah, they're doing this right. And it was exciting and it was fun. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that aspect so much. To just see, because of the way they were shot too. I mean, the way it was shot was really good. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun with this film. And I think that's my first takeaway, is that this film, to be as dark as it gets, and it does get pretty dadgum dark, there's a lot of fun within this film, at least from my vantage point. How about you, man?
Yeah, I don't know if fun's the word. I think it's that you're invested. I think that's a good experience, is whenever a movie can grab you and make you feel like, I feel like I'm part of these stakes, that I want to see Irene okay. Right. I want to see how this conflict comes to an end, because these guys that are coming after them, they're just terrible people. I mean, Bernie and Nino. Bernie kills Shannon. Shannon was his friend. Shannon was a guy, they were business partners. They were going to start a racing team together. And Bernie just knifes this guy. And this is the people that our friend has to take out. And not only that, to me, it's the internal conflict. That's what any movie that can bring in believable internal conflict like we have in this film it's just my type of movie. And that's what we see. Because he was kind of a bad dude at the beginning of the movie, but he had his rules. But this film, as it progresses, it seems like he has to open up a new part of himself, a part that it could be hidden, or a part that he's never tapped into before. But this is a dark part, and it's a sort of sadistic part, but I think he has to go there. He has to go to this place. And to me, that's the big theory. I'm going to throw this out at you. To me, what this movie is about is the conflict of him. He has to become a monster to become a hero. He has to become a monster to defeat these other monsters. What do you think?
I mean, again, and I immediately go back to my Batman comparison, because I've heard in a Batman thing one time, he says sometimes you have to be a monster to defeat the other monsters. And I think that's kind of like the same thing with this guy. Is maybe this guy was pushed around as a kid. Maybe this guy went through a lot of crap as a kid and was intimidated and was made to feel vulnerable, and so he kind of took on this persona as he got older and got bigger, that he had to become something violent, become something ruthless, to let everybody else know, hey, you know, this I can take care of myself, and you know, you're not gonna cross me, and I'm gonna show you how tough I am. And I think that's what happens here, is that he made to be tough, but yet still has a vulnerable side, as we see with the interaction with the neighbor and the kid and everything. So I think, again, this character is so complicated and so relatable within that complicated aspect.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's where he starts out the movie. That's where he is for most of the movie. But as this conflict increases, as he realizes, and to me it's the elevator scene. The scene where he's in there, he sees the guy has the gun, he's in there with Irene, he goes and he kisses her. And that's the last moment of like happiness for him for that film. Maybe for the rest of his life. He kisses her, and then he proceeds to kick this guy's head in. And she is appalled. The way she looks at him, she's like, "You're a monster. I can't be with you." And he realizes it too. He looks at her and he's like, "Yeah, but I gotta save you." And I think that's what part of me that says he is a hero. That he's willing to go through these places he goes, and yeah, he's not comfortable with it. It's not something he wants to do. I mean, when he kills Nino, he has to wear a mask. He puts on that mask from when he was a stuntman. And I think that's a very telling scene too. Yeah, and that's one of the thing about this film. And like every movie we talk about, you gotta watch this movie a few times, because there's just so many like subtle hints of the character and things that you have to watch for. And
for real,
it's a great film.
Yeah, I mean, just that scene alone, I think, kind of tells you everything you need to know about this character. Because again, I think that he wants to be a good person, but he's so entrenched into this lifestyle and this role that he has to be, that it's kind of like, you know, this is what he kind of sold himself to be. And in a way, it's kind of a tragic thing. In a way, you could almost call him a tragic character, because he feels like he has to be this way, and he can't be a normal person, and he can't have a normal family life, and you know, all the things that quote unquote normal people have. And for me, that kind of makes him a tragic character too.
Yeah, I'd say he's definitely tragic, but at the same time, and this is why I don't feel down at the end of this film, is I think he does triumph. I think because he does save Irene and the kid, well, at least we think so. Well, I guess since Bernie's dead and everything, he's succeeded, and the music's playing everything, real hero. And I don't know, I feel like that he's uplifted, but the other part of me is like, what now? Is he gonna bleed out in the car?
Right.
Is he gonna just like drive half a mile down the road and just be dead? Or is he gonna?
Right.
I mean, what's he gonna do after this? Is he gonna go to prison? Is he gonna the mob's gonna come after him, or who knows? It's just even though we have this happy moment and this sort of uplifting part that he's basically been a hero, we still can't feel totally happy, and that's a bittersweet ending. Is a great ending in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's where this noir stuff comes back into play, because most noirs don't end on a happy note. And while you could say this does end on a semi-happy note, there's still a lot of ambiguity, and there's still a lot of what if and what happens next. And I think that kind of gets into the noir aspect, is we don't know if it's really a happy ending or not. Yeah, he saved who he needed to save, and I guess on that front, it's a happy ending. But what about the character? There's just so many unanswered questions about the character going forward, and I think it's probably up to the viewer and up to the audience to kind of decide in their head, you know, does this guy go and make another life for himself? Does he become a whole different person? You know, or like you said, does he drive down the road a little bit and then just bleeds out and dies? I mean, we don't know. And a little bit that frustrates me because I do kind of want to know, even if it's a negative thing, because it's like I want resolution complete, and I don't feel like we get that in this film. Obviously, it doesn't hurt the film for me anyway. But what about you, man? Are you cool with all this ambiguity and just, you know, complete unresolved situation, or how do you see it, man?
Man, I would have hated if they ended the movie any other way. I think this was the only way to do it. I think it's perfect. Just the way it plays out, and you don't know. And like I was saying earlier, we don't even know if what we've been watching the whole time is the real story, if it's the true thing. Because this is all in his head. It could be just like, who knows?
Could be a dream for all we know.
It's a very questionable film in that way, but still, it's a very awesome film. So I can't say any more about how I would just want more people to watch it. And I think we're kind of late to the game. I mean, pretty much anybody on YouTube that's a critic has already talked about this movie before. It's a great film. It's going to stand the test of time. I really hope we'll probably have to come back to it again later, way down the road, just because we barely scratched the surface after talking for 40 minutes.
What do you guys think? Are you kind of on board with this being a good film? If so, is the ending satisfied you? Would you have liked a little bit more resolution? What's your guys' opinion on that? Because we'd really love to know. Because like Steve said, we really love the interaction, and we're just movie lovers. We don't, we're not authority of any kind. We just love movies and love to talk about them. So we just love to hear from you guys and to let us know. But yeah, I totally agree. I think at this point we've probably said all we could say about this film. I think it's without really telling everything, but I really think there's a lot of good performances in this film. Obviously, we talked about Ryan Gosling, Bryan Cranston, which I really enjoyed in this film, Oscar Isaacs. So many good performances that we couldn't really get into because of time constraints. But again, if you guys have not seen this film, please do yourself a favor and go check it out, and then let us know what you think, because again, like Steve said, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Please, guys, check out the YouTube channel. I know that's probably what you're watching this on or listening to it on, and the reason why we want to watch it there, because we're trying our hardest to get to 1,000. That's our really, I mean, we'll be happy there. We don't even have to get more than 1,000, because we just do this for fun, and at the same time, we put a lot of work into it. We really like what we're doing, and we really like where this journey's taken us. We've learned a lot about movies. Lately, it's gotten kind of dark, like we said. We've watched some pretty noirish films, pretty dark films, but guess what? We're about to take a day off.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
gonna go with Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This is, I mean, you just got to see this film.
Oh my gosh.
And if you haven't seen it in a while, just do yourself a favor, pop it in. You just get sucked into a better world where just anything can happen. It's a great movie. Can't wait to talk about it.
Definitely, man. As Steve said, thank you guys for liking this video. Please like this video on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, share it with your friends. Also, as Steve said, please follow us on Twitter at SuperCaZt with the Z, and let us know what you'd like to see us do in a future episode. And who knows, we may take your suggestion, because we're just that friendly type of guys. Who knows? But Steve, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed talking about this film, and most definitely look forward to our next episode and hanging out with Mr. Bueller. So until then, I am the Superfosh. He is Steve Z. We'll see you guys next time on the SuperCaZt.